we are very proud to announce UMP Trading is an official partner with a proven profit track record.
Yeah, if you want great returns on your investments, be sure to check out UMP Trading.
Hello, welcome back to everyone listening to the channel. American Ultra Stock. Here we are today, AUC Talks, bringing to you guys the Stock Watch. Again, the segment of the channel where we analyze the players whose stocks went up or down based on the play or not, based on their absence as well, perhaps. On the week's action for soccer, Braden, straight to the point, who's your first player whose stock went up this weekend?
Yeah, so my first player is going to be Timothy Chandler. He had his first appearance of the season for Frankfurt, and he didn't look out of place at all. He looked amazing, honestly, in their win, provided an assist, easy 6-0 win over Helsinki in the Conference League. So not the best of opponents, but it's nice to see him, performing well, looking like he belongs, because he hasn't been getting the most play time over the past couple of years. And I mean, he is a club legend for Frankfurt, that can't be ignored. And he's not in the USMNT fixture. He won't be the rest of his career. I mean, he's 32, but I think he deserves a shout out because he's a player who I want some of our players now, our younger guys, to emulate the career of, because we don't have a lot of Americans who are really club legends in Europe. We have Chandler, maybe Dempsey at Fulham potentially, but really there's not too many that you can think of. And I mean, I think with our new up-and-coming golden generation, I think we have the opportunity for some players to, instead of, the mentality seems to be, oh, let's get a bigger move every summer so we can just keep working our way up. I think some of our players should just focus on one club, maybe a bit of a smaller club, and really try to cement their legacy there, just like how Chandler did at Frankfurt. So I think he deserves a shout out for his performance and just his status at Frankfurt over the years.
Yeah, that's a perfect point for me to put in Tanner Test. No, I'm just kidding. But I was really tempted to put him out there. What a performance by him. But regardless, that's the standard that I expect from him. So I'm picking Zendejas. I think that this is a guy that has been a little bit underrated, let me say. I don't know if underrated is the correct term, but he has gotten a little bit of overhate, I think, ever since the Gold Cup. Granted, he didn't have the best of performances in that tournament. Obviously, we looked at him as a source of inspiration for that tournament because he was one of the A-teamers that was included, but he didn't correspond to the expectations. But he had a really good game. We can't credit where credit's due. He played against Monterrey, a really good team in Mexico, pressure game too. And Club America, I think they are the biggest team in Mexico, and he stepped up, had a really good game. And every once in a while, I feel like he has these moments where it does make me wonder, how would this guy fare in Europe? And I think that he's the type of player that would really benefit in Europe. I think that his game, he has the potential to actually translate some performances there, I think, or at the very least improve his game. I think some players, they wouldn't really do well there, or they wouldn't really just be put to the test there, and that's it. But I think he could actually flourish in terms of improving his game. I don't know how successful he would be, but that was a good game, and I think based on how he had been performing, this is a stock up, definitely. Now, who did not get on your gracious side and gets a stock down, Braden?
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning for Zendejas. He has 3 goals and an assist in his last 4 games. And that kind of goes into my stock down because I'm picking a player who has not really been performing at all this season, and it's going to be Cade Cowell in a similar league to Zendejas. This was supposed to be his breakout year. I think he already made an all-star game a couple years ago, which is kind of just hype because he was young. But I mean, against SKC in midweek, the wild card game in MLS, it kind of just summed up his season. I mean, he came on, he did look lively, he threatened, but the end product is just so bad from him. We've seen this time and time again. It's just the story of his season. He gets in chances and he fails to deliver. Only 1 goal and 2 assists all year, and what was supposed to be a season that could have potentially earned him a move to Europe. We saw Bologna had some interest, and perhaps good for them that they backed out, because I don't think this guy would do anything in Europe, and I don't think he ever will, to be honest. I think this might be a little harsh, but I think he's just this generation's Jordan Morris, to be honest. I mean, he had the perfect opportunity after an excellent U20 World Cup. I'm going to give him props for that, because he did look like one of our best players in that tournament, but he just failed to follow it up completely, and I'm really disappointed, honestly.
I think that it's important that you said that he had a good tournament, but let's be honest, he missed a lot of chances. His finishing was a little bit atrocious in that tournament, but as always, the stats a little bit, they sugar pad and sugarcoat a little bit of our players' performances. And the next player that I'm picking for a stock down, that's definitely something that's been happening to him, John Brooks. I'm so sorry, that was ridiculous. I was taking the time to actually watch him because I thought, well, he's been doing well this season. I always see him doing all right. I had watched 2 full games previously, and I thought he did okay. His passing was a little bit concerning in one of the first games that I watched, and then I took the time to watch him this time around. Awful. The worst defender on the pitch. The defending was ridiculous on both goals. I could single-handedly blame him. I'm not going to say it's all on him, but if he was a half-decent defender, neither of those 2 goals would have happened. He could have definitely, for the guy that I thought he would be, stepping up for the USMNT picture as the next ring, let's say, for the next cycle. No, that's unexcusable. And after we saw Chris Richards and Ream had a bit of a tough time, that center back spot is kind of up for grabs really for the next cycle. Brooks is not old by any means. He's within the age to be there and possibly lead the line, but no, that was ridiculous. His stats are getting a little bit, they're carrying him because I think Hoffenheim have looked all right. They have looked really good this season, but if you look at his individual performance specifically this weekend, if I'm Berhalter and I'm watching that, I'll be having a field day, because we know that Greg doesn't like him. If you watch that game, that's probably going to warrant him keeping him off the squad for at least a few months. So stocks down for Brooks. But on a brighter note, Braden, who's the next one that gets the stock up?
Yeah, I think Brooks is lucky because this weekend Berhalter was at the Gladbach versus Heidenheim game, so he probably didn't see the Brooks disaster class. But let's be real, Greg doesn't like to settle his beefs. He's not calling out Brooks regardless of his performance, which is fine. It should be accepted by our fan base. I don't know why we keep hearing these calls for him. He's not anything special, to be honest. Maybe he deserves to be in the roster, but he's not going to set the world alight. But someone who has been kind of setting the world alight is going to be Dante Polvara, probably the surprise of the season for me, coming from Charleston Battery in the USL and going on to Aberdeen in Scotland, and big game after big game, he always delivers. He scored his 2nd Conference League goal of the season this year against PAOK midweek. Unfortunately, Aberdeen did just completely collapse at the end of the game and end up losing, but it's no fault of Dante's at all. I mean, he already has a goal against Frankfurt as well, Axel Aronson's club. One of the biggest teams in Germany. Obviously, they won the Europa League a couple years ago. He had a big performance in Aberdeen's monster win against Rangers, one of the biggest clubs in Scotland, a couple weeks back as well. It just seems like every big game, they can count on him to deliver and really step up for them. And it's just completely out of the blue, because I don't think any of our fan base, me included, knew about this guy coming before the season. I mean, he was just a USL guy. Scotland's not the best of leagues, admittedly, but playing in Europe does give him the opportunity to show something, and I think he has shown that he has what it takes to play at this level.
Okay, more big game goals and performances than Tillman last year. No, I don't know. That's a bit controversial, but hey, nice job for him. I think that's really nice, and I think the jump from USL to Europe, regardless, it's a top-tier league. It's a top-flight first division in Scotland. That can definitely propel him into bigger things, and it gets him in the mix for some of the fan base to start looking at him. Props to him. And another guy that needs to get looked at, he already has some hype behind him, Diego Luna. I'm going to have to pick him. I mean, first, I think he's the youngest playoff scorer ever since the GOAT, the greatest player of all time, Gianluca Buzio. So really good job for Luna, really good finish too. And I think that the fact that he's a truly double-footed player is really nice too. It's nice how he has a bit of speed. It looks so funny the way he's really unorthodox and a bit awkward watching him, but what a good player. I think that he's definitely a guy that should stay one more year in MLS, cement himself as one of the standout players, possibly be a DP next year, whatever, but get used to being the main guy and go to Europe, like you said, to a smaller club and build from there, because I feel like he has the mentality as well to to be he has all the righties to be a club folk hero, you know. So I really like Luna. Good job on him, and I'm impressed. So he gets a stock up. Now, who gets a stock down, Braden?
Yeah, my next stock down is going to be Haji Wright. He's had a very underwhelming start to the season with Coventry. Only 2 goals and 2 assists so far in the championship this season for him. And Coventry, last year's promotion playoff finalists, all the way down in 20th. It's not the start they would have wanted for the season and for Haji Wright individually. And we've even seen rumors of Fenerbahce wanting to rescue him as soon as January. And when you're hearing rumors of someone leaving after only a couple months with the club, it's usually not a sign that it's gone well. Let's be honest. And I mean, maybe it would be beneficial for him to go back to Turkey. We did see him with Antalyaspor in the last couple of seasons play pretty well in that league. But I think it's just a little concerning for me that someone who is somewhat on the radar is just flopping in not even the best of leagues. I mean, it's not like he's in the Premier League flopping or anything. He's in the Championship against very average quality teams, and he's not performing at all. Whether it's off the bench, failing to impact the game, whether he's starting and just doing absolutely nothing, getting subbed off early, it just hasn't been the start of the season that he would have wanted. And even though Josh Sargent's been injured, his stock has still not dropped lower than Haji's, which is a bit embarrassing, I think. Coventry manager did say that he wouldn't be leaving in the winter. I don't think he will actually leave. I think it's just speculation, but the rumors are there already, and it's very concerning. There's still time for him to, turn it around, but honestly, I don't think he will, and it's just not the move that we would have wanted from him.
Getting opportunities too and not capitalizing on them is never something that you like to see, because I feel like, well, obviously the soccer math is not perfect. On paper, it seemed like this is a perfect opportunity for him to propel his career. The championship, he's a big physical guy. He has some speed, but yeah, not going well at all. I'm going to pick a guy here that I really like him. I like his perseverance throughout his career, but not going well at all either. Based on the maybe over-hate, he's going to be under a microscope light. Turner. I think that the fact that they have such a good backup goalkeeper at Forest, and the way that the fans are always seeing, I don't know if it's real, the thing that Tim Howard, they always say about, if you're American, you get a little bit more hate in England, and I think that's perhaps true, but we saw what happened today. I feel like it's about time that he's going to get benched, and that's really sad. But I really like Turner, but unfortunately he only really has himself to blame. A bit of miscommunication error that was grotesque, to be honest. It's not what you typically see in the Premier League, and he's going to get the short end of the stick, and I think he's going to get benched, so his stock has to go down if he's not playing every week, especially after moving from Arsenal in order to be the solidified number one, and I think that's no longer going to be the case. Now, who's your last pick on Stocks Up, Braden?
Yeah, so my last stock up is going to be John Tolkien. The Red Bulls did unfortunately lose the first game of their best of 3 series against Cincinnati this weekend, but in the wild card game, in order to get there, Tolkien absolutely carried them to a dominant 5-2 win over Charlotte. And it's so rare that you see a left back with being the best player on the team and leading them to performances like this, with a goal and 2 assists in that game. And I don't know, I think he's just a really unique player, how he can play probably one of the most forgotten positions in the game, I think it's fair to say, and still has such a huge impact on the game. Even today, I think he was Red Bull's best player far and away in their 3-0 loss. And yeah, I think this season's been a real step up from him, despite having a bit of a shaky Gold Cup performance. And I think he could get a move to Europe sooner rather than later based on his performances. We've seen interest from the Bundesliga up here recently, I think last month, maybe 2 months ago. And I think the winter could be a decent opportunity for him to get a move.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with his performances. I think that it's really, really nice that he's doing as well as he is. I'm really happy with him. And just thought about something, but anyways, I was gonna say that I saw a rumor that Groningen, if they were really interested in him, but that's 2nd division. But anyways, it's really nice that he's gathering interest, at least. Like you said, he's such an impactful player playing as a left back, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that he's their most important player. really nice, stepping up in big moments as well. So yeah, I'm gonna pick his competition, Jedi. I think that his stock goes up because he handled a really, really good team. I know that he's Mr. Consistent, but I was really impressed. I thought he had a really good game. And people, I feel like they always analyze him under a microscope too in terms of his touch. And yeah, it can be a little bit shaky at times, but I thought he was really reliable. Even with the press that Brighton put on him, he did really well throughout the entire game. And that's a perfect, competent performance. That made me think, I don't think we have another left back on our pool yet that can do that well against a team like Brighton. So his stock goes up, even though he's already super consistent. I feel like it's unfair to just always say that, never mention the guy when he has a good game. So I'm picking Jedi this week. Now, who's your last pick, Brayden?
Yeah, so you kind of stole my pick with Matt Turner there, but I'm gonna change it to Jonathan Tompkinson for my last stock down. And I mean, we saw him somehow get a run-in with the Olympic team, and I mean, it props to him for getting called up. I don't know what he did to deserve it, to be honest. I mean, he was decent last season, helping, I think, Stevenage get promoted from League Two, but I mean, this year it's just been not what he would have wanted, to be honest. He got a very, very late deadline day move to Bradford City on loan. It was announced like a week or two after deadline day. I don't know how it was allowed to go through, to be honest, but it was, and he hasn't been playing at all for Bradford. Hasn't even been in the matchday squads for the majority of the games. He's been on the bench a couple times, gotten a couple minutes, but realistically, he's not playing for them. He's not really much of an option in League Two, which is not what we want to see from someone who's being looked at as our future of our center back pool. And I think even in the Olympic camp, he was definitely overshadowed by Max Dietz and Brandon Craig. So his stock goes down for me. He's not playing at a very, very low level. He's already 22. It's not like this guy's young or anything. Like if he was 18, it'd be a different story. But like we just lost a dual national in Tyler Binden, who's playing at a higher level at a much younger age. And it just shows that our scouts just don't really know ball, to be honest. But yeah, his stock goes down for me.
Completely fair, and I think it's crazy the amount of overhyping that we do on our center backs. I still see people saying that, oh, Tompkinson for 2030. The guy's already 22. Like you said, this is a guy that should be ready to get minutes at this level that he's playing at. But my last pick, I was in between two players, Brendan Basket and Brendan Aronson. And I feel like Aronson, I'm sorry, Brayden, I know you're a huge fan of Aronson, but just the amount of hate that he gets, it's crazy. But I'm going to have to pick him because of his team as well. Union Berlin, I had big aspirations for him, for not only him, but the team, to allow him to again get his career back on track and be respected as I think he should. He always does well for the national team. In my opinion, it doesn't bring his national team stock down, but for club-wise, yes, I think it does. Because I don't think he's going to ultimately, especially after the game today, I don't think he did anything particularly wrong, but it just goes to show Union Berlin are not going to have the season that I thought they were going to have at all. I don't think that they're going to get much further. They're not going to be able to push him back to the Champions League. I don't think they're going to do that good of a season to actually keep him and sign him. And I don't know what the situation is going to be with Leeds if they're going to go back. So I think his club situation gets a little bit tricky after this season, because I don't think things are looking up over there. Union Berlin, very, very underwhelming season so far. I was expecting a lot more from them, and I think that the way they play too doesn't really suit his style. And yeah, I just feel like it's not the perfect setup that I thought it would be. When he got that move, I thought it was the perfect move, but I don't think things are looking up there. So his stock goes down a little bit for me. Club-wise, I feel like it's going to be tricky, and it's going to generate a lot of the fan base saying he never does anything, and then hate on him, which we already see that he's one of the guys that always gets hate. And yeah, I feel like ultimately his club situation, not due to too much of his fault, but due to the club itself, it has been really underwhelming. I don't think that he pictured it going the way that it is. Now, who are your picks for this next week, upcoming week? Really exciting week of soccer. Who are you picking for the main stock watch and the under the radar one, Brayden?
Yeah, well, there's a lot I could say about Brendan Aronson, but we're gonna have to save that for a future video, I think. I don't want the haters who follow Tax Agenda to come after me in the comments. But just getting into my player to watch, it's going to be Gabriel Sanina, and I think I criticized him on the last stock watch just due to his team and the loan move he chose to take. but he proved me wrong. He shut me up this weekend. He got his first clean sheet in Belgium. Props to him. He had a very good game as always. He's making saves, lots of saves every game, and it'll be interesting for me to see if he can build on this, because UPenn haven't really put together a good run of form all season. They've had a couple wins here and there, but they never seem to put together a good run, and I want to see if Slonina can help them to do that. Maybe get 2 wins in a row, maybe a draw, just something to get them out of the loss column, because recently it's been absolutely brutal for them. It's nice to see 1 win, but maybe it was just a fluke. I want to see a little bit more. And then my sleeper candidate, this might be a little bit cheating, but I'm going to pick the entire Pan American game squad, because I think the roster, the tournament that hasn't been really getting much coverage from YouTubers in the USMNT scene, and I think they deserve some credit, because honestly I had a lot of doubts going into the tournament. I didn't think the roster was that strong. To be honest, I still don't think the roster is that strong. I don't think there's a lot of players who have future, but I think they all deserve massive respect for the performances they've had, getting out of a very tough group, beating Colombia today as we record it. A very, very solid 2-0 win. We're going to be going to the semifinals on Wednesday to play the hosts, Chile. And honestly, I think we have a very decent chance at going to the final. We'll probably play Brazil again, and we only lost 1-0 to them the first time. I think it's not crazy to say that we could win this entire tournament, which is something I never would have thought heading into it. So I think they all deserve massive props and respect for their performances.
Shame on you, Braden. I thought it was going to be so cool and hip picking Cudi Pietro to be the player on my under the Raiders stock watch. I thought he scored a really nice goal, really nice first touch to set up the finish. And I was going to say, I think he's definitely a player that he looked really confident, really happy. He gave a little interview. It was really nice. I feel like he's definitely riding the wave that, well, maybe I am the guy for this tournament. And I think it's really there for the take, and I think that we should be aiming to win that. So I was going to pick him. I'm still going to pick him. I pick him to be the guy for this team. It's also nice that Nettie scored, but yeah, I'm really, really happy that this team's doing well. Let's hope that they get a little bit more coverage, because I feel like some of these players may have a chance of someday being around the Gold Cup squad. Like you said, I don't think any 8-teamers there, but really happy for them. They're representing the country and doing well. And for my main pick, I'm going to have to say it's going to be Musa. I feel like he's going to have another good game. Did a really solid job with Milan today, and I just have a feeling that he's going to have set the world alight in this next game. Now, anything else you want to add, Braden, before we go?
Just a quick shout out to Josh Winder. Yeah, he was named this week in the best 11 Gen Z team, for what it's worth, in Liga Portugal too. Obviously, he's playing with Benfica's second team, so it's nice to see his development, especially in a period where our center back depth is severely lacking, both for now and for the future. Legitimately, I don't see a single world class, or even class in general, player that we have right now or has potential to be that, which is very concerning for our World Cup hopes that some fans have for the near future, 2026 or 2030. But who knows, maybe Winder can step up. We've seen the Benfica Academy do it before for several other players, and who knows, maybe he can be the next Antonio Silva coming out of their academy.
Yeah, some YouTubers even think that he's going to be making the roster, definitely as a sub for next World Cup. That would be nice. Maybe I think that he's really young, but that would be nice to see. The very last thing that I want to add is, as you guys have seen on my team, Herbert for president. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. What's your pick for the week? What did you guys think of this week? Any players that we missed and you think that we should be covering a little bit more? And we'll see you next time.